Hello everybody, welcome to another Versus Video Deck Tech. CVM here along with BBD. And I'm going to be playing the black-red mid-range deck that placed in the top 8 of the Grand Prix this last weekend in Buenos Aires. Aires, I can't pronounce it.
Either way, I'm pretty sure that the guy piloting this deck actually just came out of a time machine.
Pretty much. This is basically the Jerry Thompson deck from Pro Tour in Dublin for Theros. Just with like the temples, basically.
Yeah, it's just literal no changes. Yeah.
So this the idea behind this deck is we have these awesome, powerful creatures like Desecration Demon, Stormbreath Dragon, and Lifebane Zombie, which are able to close games out pretty fast, and they're pretty resilient as far as with either their size, protection, or the fact that they can just attack unimpeded through just about anything. And then we just have a bunch of removal spells that will kill just about anything, a couple Planeswalkers for some card advantage, and some Mutavaults to finish the job when we need it to happen. So the one interesting thing in this deck that I think is interesting, besides the fact that we just have one copy of Heroes Downfall, is the Whip of Erebos. So I'm not a huge fan of Whip when we just have a handful of creatures like this, but Desecration Demon by himself can just gain a whole bunch of life if they're not able to kill it when you have out a Whip. And it makes it harder for them to lock the demon down and try and race you, because at some point you'll get to attack and gain a bunch of life.
Yeah, Whip's also good with Lifebane Zombie against a number of decks where like against green-red monsters, you might strip a guy with Lifebane Zombie, and then the Lifebane's body becomes irrelevant the rest of the game, and like maybe you're attacking every turn with it, but you're not fast enough to beat them. Whip really changes the dynamic there.
Yeah, where you're just gaining the life.
Yep.
Now, the other thing is we also have a Ratchet Bomb here. So this red-black deck is fairly weak to cards like Detention Sphere, since we're leaning on Demon, Chandra Pyromaster, Lifebane Zombie to do the bulk of our damage. And Detention Sphere is something that will be able to handle that and get them to the mid to late game where Sphinx's Revelation is going to take over. And having this Ratchet Bomb gives us some protection against that, but it also gives us protection against like the very fast, aggressive decks. So decks with cards like Soldier of the Pantheon. Now, if we can get an early Ratchet Bomb, it will stem the tide, force them to play out a myriad of their threats to try and play around Ratchet Bomb, and then we can clean up with Anger of the Gods and Overloaded Mysian Mortars. So I like how Ratchet Bomb allows us to bridge the gap to our sweepers, but also gives us this back-end protection against cards like Detention Sphere.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we have Bile Blight as one of the other new cards, just as a way to handle Pack Rat. So Pack Rat's a very good card against decks with lots of spot removal, and Bile Blight just gives us another answer for it. As we can see, the mono black decks of the current day and age have adopted Bile Blight as well.
Yeah, we also have Anger, Mysian Mortars. So we have a number of answers to Pack Rat. Like even if we can't kill it immediately with like a Dreadbore or Heroes Downfall, we can still draw to an Anger of the Gods or a Mysian Mortars, and we have plenty of other removal to like keep Pack Rat at a reasonable size prior to Mysian Mortars.
For sure.
So plus Key Runes can accelerate.
Yeah, actually, I really like Key Rune in this deck. I know one of the main ideas behind Jerry first working on this deck for the Pro Tour was the idea of being able to like Key Rune into a Thoughtseize in the same turn, which allows us to get information, stymie our opponent's plan, but also accelerate into our cards like Stormbreath Dragon and Rakdos Return. So I'm definitely excited to see if that works out here. I am playing against a graveyard-based deck, so I don't think that cards like Rakdos Return and Thoughtseize are going to be all that potent. But I would much rather have a Night Howler in the graveyard than on a creature. So.
Yep, and you also have Anger of the Gods to exile every creature that is in play. So yeah,
that is pretty good.
Yeah.
So here's the main deck for the black-red mid-range deck from the Grand Prix this weekend. Let's go ahead and take a look at the sideboard and see what kind of options we have in a deck that already has a bunch of removal in the main.
Probably more removal.
All right, so we are back here with the sideboard for the black-red mid-range deck, and we've got some more removal.
Yep, that's a lot of removal. Jeez.
Our main deck is full of removal, sideboard's full of removal. We got 2 Guild to make some gold tokens. It's very good against creatures that happen to be indestructible. I imagine the reason it was in the sideboard for the first place was to be able to hit gods when they're turned on, but it also isn't that bad when we're trying to accelerate into, like you can do it on 4, kill a creature, they play more creatures, and then you'll have 6 mana the next turn to overload mortars if you need to. And then we have 2 Doomblades, more spot removal, another mortars, more spot removal, 2 Dark Betrayals, more removal, so that we can kill some more creatures. So this deck really is just about killing everything that it possibly can. moving on to that, we do have some other cards that don't kill creatures. We have 2 Duress, 2 Slaughter Games, and a Sire of Insanity as a way to attack the hand of our control opponents. I particularly like Sire of Insanity. Like we have the key runes to accelerate into it, and this is just a much better card at actively attacking Sphinx's Revelation. Once you get it in play, it's very difficult to lose against a deck playing Sphinx's Revelation.
Yeah, I also like its interaction with Whip of Erebos too.
Yeah, it is pretty sweet. We have another whip, an Erebos, God of the Dead, good against the Revelation decks. I think it's also very good against like the Black Devotion decks that are going to be using Grey Merchant. And then we also have a Pithing Needle. So the sideboard gives us more removal and then some ways to interrupt our opponent's hand. I am excited to play this deck. It's not usually in my wheelhouse. I tend to play more monster type aggressive decks, but I'm no stranger to casting Mizium Mortars, and
there's still a monstrous creature in there too.
There is a monstrous creature, so we'll be drawn to them dragons. Let's go ahead and do some battling and see what happens.
All right.